showtime.
BS and Beer Media, in association with STWFTV, the Podcasting Network.
Introducing the best in the world! Yeah!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the show. Best in the world. Hashtag BITW. I am Dale. With me today, my guy Trell. What's up, man?
What's up, Dale? How we doing today on this Thursday afternoon?
Yes, sir. Doing good, man. I'm ready to talk about this Mr. McMahon docuseries we saw on Netflix. Really interesting series. It was definitely hard to put down, an easy watch. Finished that sucker pretty quickly. So yeah, man. I can't wait to talk about this, man, and get this thing all tweeted out and everything.
Yeah, I've been dying to give my thoughts on it, and the too much of a high expectation I accidentally gave myself without realizing, the time frame of the documentary. So,
yeah. I mean, everything happened when it happened, and it's just the way it happened. But look, a big picture thing, man. I didn't think we would see an actual documentary on Mr. McMahon until Vince actually died. I never thought we would get one, because he does not want to talk about himself and everything like that. And you kind of saw that in the documentary. But I think that's kind of funny, I guess, for people in show business not to want to talk about themselves, the real them.
I feel like in his case, the way he kept saying he didn't like to talk about himself, which I get it. He's always been that way. Even at Hall of Fames and stuff, he always made it a rule to give your thanks, but don't ever thank me.
Right.
Keep my name out of it. I get all that. So I don't know, he's more about everyone else than himself. But there was something he had joked around about. He was like, oh, the stories I can tell you. And the guy was like, oh, what kind of stories? Oh, I can tell you. I don't want people to know that about me. I was like, really, Vince? Well, what is it that you don't want us to know, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, look, anything could be in his mind. You never know what's in his mind. So it doesn't necessarily have to be of a sexual nature and everything. But I think the series did make it a point to kind of put those little clips like that in there, just to, I don't know, with the pending case, it starts making you kind of think, oh, he does have some kind of sexual problem, and he was sort of like this Mr. McMahon character he says he wasn't like. So yeah, it's just a bunch of different things to get you thinking, man. That's really it.
Oh yeah.
So what's up, John?
Most definitely, because I'm like, wait, why?
Right.
Because he's the only one that says him and Mr. McMahon are not the same. Everybody else says otherwise.
Yes, it's true. That is true. That is absolutely true. So that's another good point there. So okay, let's talk about the documentary, man. Get into it. So yeah, we both agree it was easy watch. We went right through it. How did you what did you think about I mean, a lot of stuff we saw and we knew about because we're wrestling fans. We've seen these things, right? So a lot of it was kind of telling you the story of how WWE came to be and everything like that. Give me something that may have come as a surprise to your story that you hadn't seen before.
Oh yeah, I kind of knew about the whole background of growing up not dirt poor, but growing up struggling, stuff like that. But what I didn't know and shocked me was how he yearned for his father's respect. He yearned for his father's love.
Mm-hmm.
Never been told he was loved. Never told him he loved them until before he died. He told him he loved them, and how much of a satisfied moment that was for him. I didn't know that. So pretty much he's basically just like his father. So I was taken aback by that. I was a little bit surprised, and also I knew that his father agreed to let Vince make payments, and if he skipped the payments, he doesn't get the company, whatever. But I'm wondering, did he really show some tough love to make him earn it, or he really didn't, give him any chance of, succeeding, so to speak. But I thought that him, wanting his father's attention, that was a surpriser. And another surpriser, which I had it backwards, was his parents. Or because I always heard the stories of him being abused by his stepfather. I thought he was sexually abused by his stepfather. I didn't know he was sexually abused by his mother.
Yeah. That was also a shock. Honestly, for me, I didn't know much about his upbringing at all. So all of that was news to me. Him, being estranged from his father, getting beat up by his stepfather, all of that was news to me. I had no idea about any of that. And then I didn't know he was dirt poor. And that kind of surprised me, because I thought, he had a normal relationship with his dad. And I thought they came up with, means and all that stuff. And then his dad became a businessman and stuff. That's how I thought it went. So yeah, I didn't know much about that at all.
Me too. Who would have thought that Linda was the one that had the better family income than him when they met? So
right, yeah, exactly.
He was the bad boy type of guy, from the streets of Connecticut. I don't know where he came from, like not a farm, but
Mean Street Posse was based off of him.
Imagine. Oh man! So for him to finally meet his dad and want to learn the family business, well, like I say, the family business, his dad's business. That's where he found that connection, that that common ground, so to speak. But he had to earn the stripes, and man, when he took the company from his dad and he went against what his dad did, I thought, because everyone always complaining, you're nothing like your father. Your father did it this way, you did it the other way, and it was frowned upon. But for him to tell that story that his dad was like, fuck him. Hey, you're doing a good job. So I was like, oh, so he did get that
the attaboy.
Attaboy.
Yes.
So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and I mean that's interesting in the fact that I think that as a male, with the dad, like you're always wanting that approval, and it showed, Mr. McMahon is no different. Shane McMahon was no different. We've all got that that yearn for that approval from our fathers. So that's what I got from that, man. And that it brings him humanity to the guy. He's a human just like the rest of us. So of course we knew about the history, how WrestleMania came to be, how he put everything on the line to try to make it happen. That was really good, getting the different point of views from it. Like guys like Tony Atlas, old guys in the business.
Yeah.
I like getting his point of view. Who was one of your favorite interviews in the series here?
Oh man.
I really like Tony Atlas. Just kind of he's not afraid of nobody.
Tony.
He's just letting it all out.
Yeah, I would say Tony because he told it like it is. He didn't sugarcoat. It never seemed like he was, dodging a question or he was trying to protect Vince in any capacity. Nor did it show he was trying to bury Vince either. So he told it like it was because when the well, I'm pretty sure probably get into the whole Pat Patterson and all that stuff later, but when he had told that story and the guy was like, "Are you gonna complain?" He was like, "To who?"
Yeah. That's a trip. I mean, Pat Patterson not here to defend himself, but look, we knew that Pat Patterson was an openly gay guy, but to think he would be,
I didn't know that until.
Oh, really?
They had that reality show Legends House.
Yeah.
I thought that was his coming out party, but when I think about it, all those years I always see him with the little shorts and the colorful shirts. I was like, as a kid, I'm like, something off about him, but I was like, I just figured that's just how old white guys dress, So I didn't pay it any mind until after he was dead and gone. I started hearing stories. I'm like, whoa, really?
Mm-hmm.
But
he definitely had things. He had clout in the company, right? So you definitely couldn't just couldn't just do something about it back in those days, of course. Right.
Yeah.
We've heard the stories about women being sexually harassed in the workplace. So it's not far to think if there's a gay guy that's in control, that's just the way things were, and he got things done that way. But they're big guys. Like Tony Atlas was a big guy. And to think you're gonna go there and just sexually harass him like that, like, oh wow. Like you're really using your power as a boss over him at that point. So
yeah, he was Vince's right hand man. So it's like, who you gonna who you gonna call? You know what I'm saying? There's no HR. He was HR.
Exactly. The timing also of the killing of Vince McMahon character, the exploding limo. So I remembered it as that happened, and then 9/11 happened. And that's the way I remembered it. But I was mistaken, because that was when Chris Benoit had the murder-suicide of his family and stuff like that. The stuff was also really, really ridiculous too.
That Mr. McMahon death thing, I was like, because I was literally like, oh shit, like,
yes.
I mean, honestly, I knew he didn't die, but I was like, oh, this is dope. And then when that happened, it's like, that forced his hand. He has to come out on camera, and I'm like, well, there goes that. It was just one of those storylines that needed to end, but it sucks that it got scrapped in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but the thing I couldn't take away from that I couldn't understand was how his Eddie Guerrero's death. They try to tie that to him, like it was
Mm.
his fault. And I'm like sitting
What?
there watching this. I'm like, I've read Eddie Guerrero's biography
Mm-hmm.
about his life. He was having drug problems and alcohol problems way before he even got into that company. Way when he was in WCW, he was having those issues. So it's like
Yeah.
his death, Tessa's death, and then there was someone else's, like Miss Elizabeth's death, which I'm like, why is her picture even there? She wasn't even in the company by the time she died.
Right.
When she was
Right.
in her later years in life, she was in WCW. So it's like,
Yeah.
why is this in his documentary? Like he's like they're trying to blame him. It's like some of those people that died. It's like that wasn't even that one. It wasn't even under his watch, and
Mm-hmm.
two is like, how's that his fault?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They wanted to blame pretty much every wrestler's death on them and stuff, but Vince does go out and help the wrestlers, paying for rehab, different things like that. That's definitely hats off to him for helping out that way, because the company does
Yeah,
not have to do that.
right.
This was a trip. The whole stuff about Stephanie in the wrestling business. She does some weird things, especially if this is your daughter. You're telling your daughter to do this kind of stuff. A whole marriage storyline, weird, creepy,
Yeah,
cringy right now, but it was just
yeah.
entertainment back then.
I mean, well, the marriage storyline was pretty cool because she supposedly marrying the love of her life, and here comes a douchebag that secretly married her. I thought that was good storytelling. I thought that
Yeah,
was cool because
exactly.
she never big ups to Triple H for that idea because
Yes.
I didn't know how if that didn't happen. I don't know how that story would have came. It would have just been like a wedding, and then what would have been the payoff?
Yeah, yeah. There's
So
always a payoff with a wrestling wedding.
yeah, so to have him
Yes.
swoop in and which I thought was comical, pretending to be her and all that stuff. That was pure gold. So for that to have that payoff and wind up having her join him in the end, I thought that was sure masterpiece. That's one of the storylines he had her do. I was cool with um, having her sacrifice. I thought that was like kind of weird. But the one storyline that he had that I'm glad did not make it to air was
Impregnating
the
her. Yeah.
one where he becomes the father of her child. I'm like,
Yes. That's way too crazy.
how can you pull that off knowing everyone knows that's your daughter?
Yes.
And so when he told the story about the whole incest situation with his mom, I'm like, all right, that makes sense. That psychological shit carried on, and then later on in life, he just had some weird idea of, hey, let me be the father of my kid's kid. So it's still nasty and weird and disgusting, but
Yes, sir.
it makes sense where he got it from.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Um, this one, when they were showing, they were talking about CTE, brain damage, and everything like that with
Mhm.
wrestling. And they showed Chris Benoit after he committed the murders and everything like that.
Right.
Um, they start showing him doing flying headbutts and all this kind of stuff, saying, "Hey, this is where he he knocked his noggin loose and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff." And like this is all the work, bro. Like he's not really using headbutt, in a ring like this.
Right. And it's like I'm not saying Vince McMahon is 100% good guy, but at the same time, it's like they was throwing anything and everything at him, and given the history of these people coming at him all these years and way back then, from the steroid scandal, ever since the steroid scandal with him and Hulk and everybody else, they always came to him. There's so many other other wrestling companies out there in the world. ECW, for one, who took nastier chair shots all the time. No one calls Paul Heyman. WCW always had, wrestlers in their company. No one called Eric Bischoff to talk to him about CTE. So, and Bret Hart's career ended in WCW, not WWE. So,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So to make it seem like he's responsible for the CTE, it is like he's not the bad guy in that. He's not wrong in that, But to label that for him, and then they just going on about Benoit's death because of steroids, and it's like there's been a few people in that interview that were saying, I think it was Brett, was like, I never known steroids to, cause someone, like, to cause CTE or cause someone to, do that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think it was more that, these are, WWE wrestlers that just blame Vince. Not forgetting that these guys had careers long before they went into WWE. Yep. So it's like, come on now.
This was also shocking to me. Getting the interview from Stone Cold Steve Austin in regards to CTE, and Stone Cold's like, I'm just not a believer in that kind of thing. Like, what? Stone Cold, no.
He's an old school guy, and if I'm going to play advocate to that, I think what he's saying is, because usually when CTEs or concussions happen, it's usually because of a mishap, or, you deliberately taking chair shots to the face or whatever. But I think I understood what he's saying, but I think how he came off by saying it, it made him look bad a little bit. But again, he's an old school guy from back in the day, old school mentality. So he's one of the ones that don't, believe in, CTEs unless, you not doing something right. I mean, I guess for an example, so you can look at Sammy Guevara as an example for that, but that's a different story for a different day. But I mean, I don't have a problem with what he said. I can understand how the backlash of how he said it is like, that sounds really insensitive, Steve.
Yeah. What's up, Will? We're talking about the Stone Cold Steve Austin part of the documentary where
can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Going on, fellas?
What's up, man? All right, can everybody hear me now?
Yo.
Jay Smoke.
Like your audio and your video is not matching.
It was like that for a second.
Yeah.
All right. So we're talking about McMahon documentary, and we just brought up the part where Stone Cold said he didn't believe in CTE.
Okay, yeah.
Did that part pretty much surprise you as much as it did me?
Yeah, I saw that. That was actually one of the. I saw that you were live, but that's one of the reasons I jumped on.
Okay, yeah.
He's like, oh, here we go. They have me talking.
It didn't surprise me because it was Austin and just a full-blown Texan. I expected that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I will say that, like, he needs to relax probably because like he's towing the company line. That's all he's really doing there. But he's doing that because, like, obviously he rocks with McMahon still. McMahon made him the biggest star ever. So like, even though he really was self-made by the decisions he made with the promos, but yeah, I just think he was towing the company line there.
Okay.
I think if he buys in to the CTE thing, then it becomes real, and then everybody in the whole league has to address this now.
Yeah,
and we've already taken out chair shots, which is pissed the Undertaker off. You know what I mean? But
yes,
I just feel like he was like, "Yo, I'm not gonna mess anything up for the wrestlers behind me that like I wouldn't have wanted messed up for me."
Yeah,
definitely.
So going a little bit further in the series, we start talking about the behind the scenes deal about the Montreal screw job. Bret Hart getting screwed because he was about to go to another company. I didn't realize that Vince could no longer afford to pay Bret Hart the contract that they agreed to, and that's the reason why he was leaving for WCW. I just thought his contract was up and he was leaving for WCW, but to see Bret's, I guess, real life reaction to losing the title and the understanding of it now as a wrestling fan, it's really a prop. And Bret didn't want to lose the prop, like
yeah.
Like,
A lot of those dudes like that though.
Yeah,
a lot of them do that.
So, Will, as a non-wrestling fan person, tell me your thoughts about watching that whole little beef go on.
Well, that's the thing. When that beef was happening, like when it was actually, I was a huge fan. HBK was my guy. So at the time when it was happening, I was a huge fan. So watching that play out in the documentary, it just it took me right back to that time where I was a kid watching this stuff. So what I did, what I came to the conclusion is Bret's just butthurt because it happened in Canada. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. Like the whole belt thing, like, bro, you couldn't have possibly thought you were taking that home with you. Like, what are we doing? You
exactly.
Like you could.
But you wanted me to extend your contract?
Yeah, like what? And even if he kept it, like, what does it mean? Vince would have just got another one made, and just that would be the actual belt. And now you got a replica. Like, who cares? Like, so the real problem was that it was in Canada, which Vince is kind of a dickhead for that. Like, he's kind of an ass. He's also an asshole for how he did it.
Okay.
Like the timing of
but
it,
he
like
had
it's
to.
Clearly, but I mean, you could have let him keep going. You could have found some other way, but just randomly, like, he kicked out, and we're gonna rush this 3 count, and it counts anyway.
But you
There
gotta
was
remember,
another way though.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't the 3 count. It was the tap out. It wasn't the 3 count.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There was another way, because I remember watching another documentary on that years ago. Bret's idea was, look, I don't want to lose in Canada. Let's do this match, have a fuck finish, have a fight, breakout, WDQ, and I would drop it the next night on Raw. And then you can have your championship. You have your championship, and I can walk away, no harm, no foul. But Vince was like, nah, we need this tonight. So he was
because
like,
his contract
right,
expired.
But do you blame him though? Like, real talk, do you blame him?
I don't. Like, as an adult working in the corporate world, I understand that now completely. It's like, hey man, I understand, but we need this done now, because here's the thing though. You may get Vince once, he'll be damned if he let anyone get him twice.
Thank you.
Elijah Blaze took that title and ran to WCW and threw it in the trash. He was like, that shit will never happen to me again.
That's right.
And he made sure of it. So
not just that. Not my.
Go ahead, Jay.
Think about the impact it would have been if it would have been the world title. That's basically saying, fuck the whole world for whatever we call World Wrestling Federation. So I feel Vince, but it was already planned that it was going to have a brawl. Like, it was said in that documentary as well that Bruce Pritchard said it. He was like, man, we just going to have just a big old battle royal come out, and I don't know why Vince changed it.
Yeah,
but I will say this. He waited till he put him in a sharpshooter. That was cold. That was cold-blooded.
Especially Brett telling Sean, "Hey, fool, you doing it the wrong way.
You're doing it the wrong way."
He had that was crazy. He had a school for his way out. That's crazy.
Exactly.
That's like walking somebody.
And then it wasn't exactly. Then it wasn't the fact that he didn't want to lose in Canada. He would have lost in Canada. He just didn't want to lose to HBK.
No, he was fine. He was fine losing to Sean. He just didn't want to do it in Canada.
Yeah, it was the Canada. I think was the biggest.
It was the Canada thing. He didn't want to lose in front of his country. He wanted to wait till Monday Night Raw to lose.
Like, if a guy's leaving my company to go join the ops, like, there's no way of giving you your send off. Fuck out of here. There's no chance.
But wait,
no chance in hell. You've got.
but wait, I think we all getting it confused because Vince met with Brett and told him the legal loopholes, how to get out of his contract, so he could go sign with WCW. So it wasn't like Brett was just gonna be like, after WWF, I'm going to WCW.
Yeah.
Either way, Vince was not taking that chance.
He told him. He told him because. But that really is self-serving for Vince. He's doing that to get out of that contract that he can't afford.
Yeah.
But then, like, in his mind, Brett, I've made you a superstar. You don't necessarily have to leave, but I can't pay you this anymore. And Brett was like, all right, then I'm out.
Right. He was.
It was mostly about, taking care of his family. That was it. There was no beef. There's no creative issues. Like, hey man, if you can't pay me, I got to get paid. No hard feelings.
Right.
And it's like, all right, cool. We'll give him my property back. Like, no, not here. Monday. Fuck you mean Monday? No, give my property back. You know what I'm saying? Because he knew Brett was not gonna do that, and so he was like, all right, I gotta do what I gotta do. Hey, Sean, Earl, Triple H, this is what the plan gonna be.
Yeah.
Brett could have took a pay cut if he wanted to. He
definitely could. If he wanted to,
Yeah, but WCW was throwing a lot of money out there.
That's fine. And it turns out that money would have came back around in WWE if he had stuck around.
Yep.
But during that time, Ted Turner, he had them. He was Tony Khan before there was Tony Khan. He had the checkbook.
Right.
He was like, "How much you want? You want to work 4 days a year? Here you go."
That's true. Many wrestlers stuck with him though. There was plenty of wrestlers who did stick with Vince, and it worked out.
Oh yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
The whole Attitude Era.
Everybody stuck, and it ended up being great for them.
Yeah. They just,
he could have just stayed.
They easily could have went under though if the inmates did run the asylum in WCW. I don't know if WWE would have survived.
Bischoff just didn't write it well.
And see, that's what Brett didn't like. Brett didn't like the new edgier stuff. He's a strictly wrestler, technical wrestler. He ain't for all the entertainment. So if he would have stayed, WWF would have definitely died as WWF. You know what I'm saying?
He didn't want to leave. It was just money.
He wouldn't have done that.
Because he said it multiple times. He regrets signing a contract in WCW.
Yeah, because his career died.
Literally.
Literally.
The grass ain't always greener. The grass ain't always greener. Is all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard not to.
You lost your brother.
Yeah.
Like it just was, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue the whole WCW aspect of the docuseries because we're told that Vince, built WWE from pulling the best wrestlers from the different territories, and basically bringing them to WWE, and so they could work for him. And then he reached out into all the different territories, and that's where he brought his wrestling events. So with those for promoters saying, hey, Vince trying to put them out of business, Vince said the same thing about WCW taking his best talent, trying to put him out of business. So
I got what he meant, though.
Yeah, I
It's
did
not
too.
the
Okay.
same.
Okay, well,
It's not
what
quite the
did he
same.
mean?
Because I feel
Well,
like when he-
because
I feel like
it's
what,
not.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Will.
I feel like what Vince was doing at the beginning was, yes, it was for his company, but it's also, he was just breaking the wheel. He got tired of this whole, the lines that were drawn everywhere. You could only go in certain places. He was like, nah, none of that. He's like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go global. That's what I'm going to do. So if y'all want to join up, by all means, let's go global. But if not, I'm going to run over you. That's not the same as what Bischoff was doing. Bischoff was like, I can't stand McMahon. I'm going to give away all the results to his events. I'm going to steal whoever I can from him. It's a different approach. Like, it was personal for Bischoff. It was never personal for Vince. It's about business every time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yes.
Yeah. He's like, if you can't compete, just get out my way.
That's
You know,
right.
that
Exactly.
was his motto.
Oh, come work for
And
me.
Bischoff
Come
was
work for me.
like-
It's whatever. Like, I'll hire anyone.
Yeah, and Bischoff was like, how much you making? Oh, you working that many days? Hey, you want to work 15 a year? Yeah, here you go. You know, screw it. You know,
Yep.
there's a difference. And it's funny because the way he kept making it seem like he was the victim, he kept saying Ted Turner, but he never addressed Eric Bischoff.
Oh, he
Not
ignored
one
him.
time.
It would have looked even more worse on Vince if he admits that this little guy who only had a year or so experience in this was beating him.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's easier to go with, you know, the big juggernaut of Ted Turner and get that sympathy vote feeling like, oh, now I'm the small company that's being taken advantage of, that's being picked on and blah, blah. I'm just looking at him like, and he even said it like, yeah, it was. I did that on purpose. Basically, I just want the pity.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. Go ahead, my fault.
That shit was hilarious. I'm like, this motherfucker.
Yeah, but you gotta give it to Vince, bro. Vince is a flawless business mind person. Flawless. There is no besides he can't keep his thing in his pants.
Yeah.
He's a flawless businman.
I mean, he's a man.
Because
He's a man.
Because-
he's just
like I said, you give a man that come from that, well, you give a man money and power, of course they're gonna take advantage. You know what I'm saying? That's just the human anatomy. But it's just like Vince, man. You came up with this whole, put like this. Ted Turner, he didn't even have a deal with USA yet. He was still messing with TNT.
Well,
He took Ted Turner in the time
started it.
with, huh?
Yeah, that was his network. He started.
Yeah, he started
Yeah.
TNT. That was him.
Mhm.
Yeah,
He built it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
that was
Turner
yeah.
was crazy.
yeah, that was
Before
on
any
him.
of the
Right.
things happened, Ted Turner was a building. Like before any
Oh
of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right. Right. And when they did the merger, it was over with. Think about it. It's the same thing that's going on now. Same exact thing.
Yeah, pretty much. What was funny is that first of all, what was funny, then he was get the vibe. You know how athletes try to like create a problem that isn't there to motivate themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like every time he brought up Ted Turner, he was like, this is a rivalry. And Ted Turner's like, who is this? Why is he mad at me? What did I do to him? You said,
oh man.
Vince who? But I just thought that was funny.
I ain't gonna say that.
Bischoff.
I ain't gonna say that because Ted wanted to run Vince out of business. Like that came out of Ted's mouth himself. He said, "What can we do to get wrestling to be the main stage to take over WWF?"
Mm-hmm.
You know
why he failed?
I don't know. What you said?
It was a passion. It was a passion for Vince. It wasn't a passion for Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. I mean, it's clear because he wasn't running the company. You know, you had this guy that had 1 year or so of experience running a company, and then you just throwing money
Mm-hmm.
like AW. But you know, you're not investing in the storylines. You had some of the best wrestlers I ain't even talking about the Golden Age wrestlers. I'm talking about Eddie Guerrero. I'm talking about what his name is? Chris Jericho. Damn, I'm trying to think of this mass wrestler name. Juventud Guerrero. Like you had the best
Parker. Oh, they had a bunch of dudes.
The best cruiserweight division. Dean Malenko. Perry Saturn. Like you had all these dudes.
That's definitely who put the cruiserweight on the map, like for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the Guerreros were the biggest with that cruiserweight title.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
so it's.
I don't know why Bischoff didn't get better writers. Like there was good writers out there. There had to be.
Yeah,
well, he said himself
with the NWO thing.
He got too comfortable.
But his best move was just flipping one of Vince's best moves. It wasn't even like his own great move. He just managed to, like his go-to move was like make him a heel. Like that's not even creative. It's just you just flip something that
smart.
We had two of the coolest guys in wrestling ever. And Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Scott Hall's one of the coolest human beings.
The face turn of Hogan, like boom, that is a lot of fire.
That moment there, man. I actually believe WWE invaded because obviously there was no internet back then. There was no, we didn't care about news and rumors. We were just kids. So to see him show up, because I didn't even know about the curtain call incident anyway until in my teenage years. But
that was live. I didn't have the money for that shit.
Yeah, but when he showed up, I'm like, "Ooh, what's he doing here?" And then when Nash showed up, I was like, "Yo, what the?" I was bugging out. I was like,
10-year-old me was losing my mind in the house. I was like, "What am I even seeing right now? This is the whole takeover." And then we find out, like, nah, all them dudes left. They're just in WCW.
Yeah. And, well, I found out pretty quick when they tried to replace him with the fake Razor D's. I'm like, I'm looking at this. I'm like, hold up. Nah, that ain't. Nah.
There's only one fake. There's only one true fake ever, and it's Gilbert.
Yep, Gilbert is the best fake ever.
The GOAT. He's the GOATest fake.
That dude was funny. That dude was always funny.
Fake Taker. I wasn't a big fan of the fake Taker, man. Faker, I just call him Faker.
Well, okay. What about fake mini Booker T?
No, but I will give you mini Doink. His little Doink's little crew. I'll give you those.
Okay.
Those we can go because they were lit. He was throwing them motherfuckers around the ring.
Oh man.
Funny, man.
So in the documentary, we talked about Shane McMahon wanting the approval of his dad, and you know we all want that as males, right? So when they brought him back into the company, I thought they brought him back into the inner circle as well. But watching this documentary, it let me know otherwise. Jay, did that surprise you when you saw the documentary?
Not necessarily, and it's because as you know, watching it, like watching that part when he came back, it's like, okay, the chemistry is not there like he's in the inner circle. It's like he's a performer, like he's one of the crew. And first of all, I gotta say this before I say anything else, man. That Shane McMahon part, which was part of the finale, man, that brought a tear to my eye because
choked up. I was
it's because I'm the same way. You know what I'm saying? I fight for the approval from my father, so I really feel where he was coming from. And just for him to get that hug and then I love you, son, and I'm proud of you, man. That I know that meant the world to him. He don't even have to wrestle anymore, do anything else with the company, just because he got that.
Yeah.
You know.
But he wanted that chair more than that hug. I know that.
Exactly.
He wanted that chair more than that hug. I promise.
Well, no, I'm not gonna say that because of outside of WWE, I'm a huge fan, a Shane fan, and back when they were supposed to buy UFC, That's when I kind of started following Shane because I'm like, man, he making some fire business moves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, dude, just nice. And for him, like, I just know WWE is not for him. When he took that step away, you just could tell that Stephanie. First of all, she got Triple H, one of the greatest creative minds ever. It's just no room for him. He just was like, if y'all need me, I do a one-off, but y'all got the passion more. You could tell he kind of gave that to his sister in that whole little statue. Yeah, I agree with that.
If he just was going around all the publications all over America, all over the world, finding the best talent, I think that would have been great for him. I think he would have an eye for it. But he just put on the chair, bro. He wanted that chair so bad.
Yeah, he wanted that UFC. He wanted to be the owner of the UFC because I was watching that document. I saw the documentary. I liked how when they explained the difference between Shane and Stephanie, I was like, all right, that makes sense because Shane is the nice guy,
too friendly,
and he wouldn't trust that company in the hands of his son because he's the nice one. Steph is literally daddy's little girl and the chip off the old block because you can tell Stephanie can be that ruthless person. So even with Shane coming back, I always figured it would be her and Triple H, taking that company over as opposed to Shane. Because I know Shane, he wanted that same opportunity that his grandfather gave his dad, and it is almost the same way. It's like he didn't see it in him, but his daughter, on the other hand, it's like she's literally Vince 2.0 if she really want to be. Because even Tony Atlas was like, yeah, you can't get over on her. You can tell.
He's like, we were pretty much as scared of her as we were of him. Like,
yeah.
I got a question for y'all though. I don't know if any of y'all had already known this, but how did y'all respond when you heard about the storyline that didn't get made about Vince and
me and Dylan was talking about that earlier, man.
Yeah, we talking about that.
Bruh, what are we doing, Vince?
Well, it was two of them, right?
There's
I heard
commitment
that
in this.
story before the documentary came out, and I was like, "Oh hell no!"
Hell no, right? But it was two of them.
Yeah.
When he said that story about his mother, I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense. Why years later that shit was in his head? Because man, there had to be some psychological shit going on when he was a kid for him to even come up with the idea of being his daughter's baby daddy. And he was like, well, that's unfortunate. That story didn't come out. Wasn't made. I'm like, sick ass mother.
But there's another one. The flip part of that was Shane was supposed to be the father of Stephanie. Or they were supposed to have a romantic relationship because they were too close.
What are you even doing, Vince? Like, this commitment, and it is whatever he was doing during that period.
I don't know what the hell was going. It was them roids. That's what the fuck it was with them roids.
Somebody in that camp was like, "Listen, I normally would be a yes man, but sir, no,
I can't.
Man,
this is gonna destroy everything."
Like, no one's not gonna like that, sir. It wasn't worth a shot,
So let's move to when Owen Hart died in the ring, and they kept the thing going. Now Vince's reasoning behind keeping the show going, besides being a businessman and everything like that, is it was dark and the crowd couldn't see what happened necessarily. Terrell, do you buy this?
Actually, I kind of do because I didn't know that. I thought that people saw it and was like, oh shit. And Vince is like, keep it going. We got to keep it going. If it was dark and they was able to, when the lights came on, everyone was like, the hell happened? Why is he laying there? So I kind of understand it. It was cringe when he said no one came to see, someone died. They came to see a show. I was like, damn, you could have said that a little bit different. But
Yeah,
I get
yeah,
it. The lights were off. No one saw what happened. Because even he said it like, if the lights are on and people saw it, we have to end it. You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But even he was like, if that happened to me, I would still want the show to go on. So it's just he was in that business mindset that's always that pretty much relates into life sometimes. Like what he's saying is true. Even in death, you know, life still has to
The show
keep
must go
going.
on.
So
Yep.
yeah, so I understood what he was saying. It was just sad that, you know, the wrestlers that had to follow that, seeing that blood stain on the mat,
Yeah.
it's like,
They
man,
kept
how
that
can
out
you
there.
focus?
Yeah.
Like,
So
like,
And then
I'm thinking,
you could see them looking at it during the matches.
yeah.
Yes.
Especially
I'm
Undertaker,
guessing
he
this
was
is
looking at it like, oh shit, you know, like
I'm guessing this is why they have
Yeah.
so many ring aprons now. And like just about every match, they're changing that damn ring apron.
yeah. Because man, they didn't have no one to clean it. They just picked him up, put him in the gurney, sent him on his way, and that right there is pretty much the clearest photo I've seen since. This is like the first time when I saw that documentary. I'm like, damn, that's the clearest photo I've seen. Because usually, it's not shown, or when they do that, don't do this at home. Little segments. It was in black and white, kind of, so you didn't really, you know, see. So in this documentary, it's like, wow, it's just, you know, dude died on impact, and it was a crazy situation. I'm glad no one saw it, to be honest with you, because
That would have been traumatic.
like it was dark. They're watching Titantron on the pre-recorded interview, and like, you know, that happened, and you can't see it. That's and you wake and the lights come back on, and you see him just laying there. It's like I would have been like, whoa, what the hell happened?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you see it the same way?
Unfortunately, I do. I definitely do see it the same way because I mean, you gotta think about it. Those wrestlers were getting paid, you know, around that time per show. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the show has to go on. I've even heard like Vince is just brutally blunt, you know, and it might come out as him being a dick, but it's just him being truthful. He can't sugarcoat nothing. He literally cannot sugarcoat anything if you pay attention to the whole documentary series. And it's very, very, very sad. You know, I've followed that story so many times. Like I read about it in one of the books. I don't know if it was Stone Cold book or the Undertaker book, somebody book I read when I was younger, and I just started like doing more research in it because, like I said, I aspired to be a wrestler myself one day.
Okay.
And it's just, bruh, they shouldn't have. I don't know if any wrestlers actually saw it, but they shouldn't. Like honestly, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to wrestle. That's somebody I want to roll with 24/7. That's like my best friend, you know.
Yes.
No.
Absolutely. Yep. Will, were you watching wrestling at that time, or was this story new to you?
Oh, me, you stepped out.
Oh,
Yeah, I think he stepped out.
All right. So let's move along then. With wrestling being so popular now, just being like taken over, do you think this Mr. McMahon documentary will hurt wrestling at all? With the different things that came out into it, what's your thoughts on that, Trill?
No, I don't think it hurts anything because mostly the main focal point of those documentary was about the steroids and all this stuff, and that was going on for years against the WWE, and it intensified after the death of Chris Benoit. WWE was back under fire for, you know, steroids and all that stuff. So this documentary, I don't believe it hurts him at all because it was the bulk of this documentary was made before any of those allegations came out. So this is something that probably won't be used against him in court. But as far as hurting the business, no, I don't think it does, because nowadays there's precautions now taking place in WWE to prevent stuff like this. Certain moves are not done anymore. They don't do chair shots like that anymore. If there's a sign of a concussion, they have a concussion protocol. They give wrestlers time off if they got an injury they're trying to take care of. Because back in the day, you don't wrestle, you don't get paid, and you're out of money.
Exactly.
Now these guys and girls are having guaranteed contracts. So if they need to take some time off, they can take that time off, and they still get paid, and then the sick time can be added to their contract or something when it's up or whatever. So they're better off now than what it was. So this documentary, I don't see it harming WWE at all.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. So let's wrap this thing up. Then let's give some I guess final thoughts about the ending of the documentary, where we start seeing all of the sexual allegations come up that Mr. McMahon wasn't present for, because after allegations were made public, he stopped doing the interviews. So with the stuff that they said earlier, I guess in the documentary, and the new stuff that came to light, Brock Lesnar name getting brought up, all those different things. Where do you think this criminal case actually goes to in the future here? Will, what do you think about the case against Mr. McMahon?
Well, I think we were having a conversation yesterday, and I told you when he was doing that interview, or what was it, Costas, when he got up in his face, or whoever it was that he kept leaning up in that chair again. That's a man who will do. That's a man who will do everything he's been accused of. So when I saw that, I was like, yeah, he probably did all of that. I just don't think you get to that level of because think about it, he wasn't just about the break. He dominated everything he did, and if he wasn't dominating, he figured out a way to then make them join him, and then dominated them. like that's how he moves. He dominates, and so with that comes, the power over people and the power over very beautiful women. And I assume he probably did all that shit. And you know what? No, it's terrible. Obviously bad. But I'm pretty sure all of them did what they did for their job, and they moved up every time. So, they made choices too. It's unfortunate though, like when you get your job's on the line and you gotta do some slimy shit like that. But
yeah, absolutely. Terrell, what's your thoughts on the actual criminal case against Mr. McMahon?
Oh man, I hope, because from what the last time I heard, his health was in bad shape, and that always happens when these guys go to trial. Like Harvey Weinstein, when he was on trial and stuff, his health was deteriorating. So it's like all of a sudden these things are happening at an elder age. And it's like, do people really get, if this stuff really happened, it sucks, because do people really get their justice? Because they're probably gonna die either in prison without barely doing any time, or Lord forbid, they pass before the trial is even up. So I do see this going forward, and I don't think he's gonna be able to buy his way out of this one. I think if all of this stuff gets dropped or he gets found not guilty, that would be I would say the biggest win ever in life for him, more than the Hulk Hogan steroid thing back in the day. But if he did all this, he deserves to go to prison, because that one wrestler, Ashley Mazzaro, she committed suicide because nobody believed her,
Yes.
2,
That's
no one
terrible.
even cared.
Mhm.
And 3, if he was involved in that, I mean, you did what you did, and you left her there in a third world country
Yeah, man.
to have her
That's
find a way
messed up.
home. It's like someone
Yeah.
has to answer for that, you know?
Yeah. That's
Oh no,
terrible.
no, not someone. Very specifically him.
I mean, if other people were involved, they got to answer for that too. You know, if you know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lauren
Yeah,
Nice was involved in that, he got to answer for that. So it's like,
absolutely.
and you mentioned Brock. I don't think anything's gonna come at it because he was just mentioned in the text. He didn't officially meet the woman. He never came close to the woman, nowhere near the woman. So, like I mentioned the other
Allegedly.
day, and so the rumor has it he's already, you know, back on the active roster. So it was just he was gone just to take the heat off of him. Because it was, if he showed up when that story was going out, that it would have been a bad look. So send him home, enjoy the rest of the year, come back another year or 2. But I think he should be good as far as that goes. Because if he was just in a text, then you know it was just a text message. You know, it's not, you can't really cancel him if he didn't really do anything. You know, that's between him and his wife.
Yeah, exactly.
I assume ex-wife now.
Nah, Sable not about to divorce Brock Lesnar. Sable is not about to leave Brock Lesnar.
Oh, I
I'm
forgot
sorry.
he's with Sable. I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, boy, I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry.
He got the
Ironically,
with the league, huh? Look at Brock.
hey, but ironically, the same person that sued WWE for sexual assault as well.
Yeah.
So,
But she came back though.
She came back because she probably knew she couldn't win. But think about this.
She settled. Or did she settle?
Yeah, she settled. Yeah.
They settled. They sure did because they mentioned it.
Which is crazy that he then brought her back in. Vince is good for that though. That like
he's always had that mindset,
you
you know, what's best for business, you know, that whole best for business mantra.
It's not personal, it's business.
If we can come to a common ground here, I'm open for anything. So it's like that still happens to this day, you know. CM Punk and WWE, Triple H is like, hey, the door is always open for you. You know, the door's always open. So, and he came back. So I like that mindset they have. It's like, hey, you know, make me money. That's all I care about. Just make me money. Make me rich.
I think it's crazy with so many interpersonal relationships that he has in that business. He had like every guy they brought in was like he's a father figure, all this stuff, and yet he was still very easily managed to never like mix the business with his feelings. He's like, nah, whatever. Like it's not personal ever. It's always just about this business. That's a crazy amount of commitment.
I mean, have you met Vincent Kennedy McMahon Sr.? Like, have you heard about him? So I mean, if your father show you a whip and you learning this as a teenager or whatever, you learning everything from your father, being just soaking it up, you're gonna be the same way.
Yeah.
You know, then he already had a disconnect because he wasn't there early on. You know, you got to think about
12.
Exactly. And then you got the stepfather, and then your mother sexually abusing you. So it's like he's already withdrawn from people. That's why I like what I kind of felt what he said. I show you what I want to show you, but everything's a work. I mean,
wait, now why is Bruce Pritchard upsetting you? Like, what's going on? What did Bruce Pritchard say? I liked Bruce Pritchard rebuttal pretty much. For he's trying to take up for Vince McMahon, because he's been working with him forever.
He'll defend him to the end.
I will say this though. I feel like that documentary, it was set up to bring Vince down. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. It was set up to bring Vince down because if this was something solely about Vince's life and Vince McMahon, the person, in the wrestler, then you would have never bought in sexual allegations. You would have never talked about this so much. It's part of it, but come on now. if you're talking about God bless the dead, P Rose, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna talk more about his life and his upcoming and the things he had to go through. You're not just gonna focus on every single. It seemed like after they did the steroid thing, everything was brought up to attack Vince, and they keep bringing it up. They had way more stuff that Vince had done in his life.
But you don't get to separate, like, you don't really get to separate the things. It's all one person. So the good and the bad, you got to deal with it.
They're going to talk about the good and the bad.
Right. Like Pete Rose, it's funny you chose Pete Rose because, like, the first thing on his byline is always going to be that he gambled on baseball. It's the very first thing they speak of. Before we talk about how much he hustled and how great he was, it's like, but he cheated the game.
And the underage girls, too.
Yeah.
Someone's going to dig that up. Somebody's going to dig that up.
But I will say, they did a good job investigating him, but it was set up to take him down because it don't show enough about Vince McMahon, if you ask me.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot about WWE's creation and his involvement with it and his on-screen character.
What's the name of the documentary? It isn't Vince McMahon. It's Mr. McMahon, his character.
True. That is true. That is true. So when do you separate Mr. McMahon? Because Mr. McMahon don't have these allegations against him. Vincent Kennedy McMahon has these allegations.
So to your point, when they wanted to separate them, they did, but not the entire time. So they made, you're right. It was definitely somewhat of a hit piece. And as for my man who was talking about Pritchard, when you're doing a documentary, you have to have the opposition. Otherwise, you just look like you're entirely a hit piece or you're entirely So they had to put Pritchard on there, always defending Vince, because that's the voice of that other side. You got to have the other side. Of the documentary.
So do you think it was balanced?
Right. Otherwise, credibility. This is all one way. This is all one-sided. So you got to put both in.
I think it was balanced enough because I think we was expecting more, but I kept forgetting that this was all before the allegations were made public.
Yeah.
Right.
If this was after, this would be a totally different story because this documentary was already in the works or being talked about before we even caught wind of the lawsuit. So it would have been this documentary would have been the same, with the exception of adding in the whole allegations stuff. I think this documentary still would have been the same.
So let me ask this question to y'all. From what I gather, the allegations that's being brought up now are the same allegations that was then by the same young lady.
Okay.
Like, pay attention to it. Like, they saying the same thing, and it's the same young lady. Like,
something had to change though, because now trafficking's involved.
Yeah.
So something different had to happen.
What? You know why trafficking is involved?
Okay.
Because you got your ditties out here.
Well,
so that's the way you bury him now, because sexual harassment doesn't take you out anymore like it used to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know the trafficking is going to be so he passed her to what's
Laurinaitis, Johnny Laurinaitis.
Yeah. Also, people don't realize, like, after there was a case in New York in I think the 60s or 70s that was it forever changed how trafficking is now viewed. Now, if you date a girl or if you at a bar, like all four of us at a bar or whatever, and I literally tell you, like, hey, yo, you should go holler at Shorty. You holler at Shorty, you bag, you do whatever. If you text me the next morning, and yo, good looks on that, I trafficked. That's how the rule works now.
Yeah.
God damn, for real?
Yeah, it's reckless. Careful, fellas.
Yeah.
Careful, fellas, is what I'm saying. Just careful.
Yeah.
Damn.
Don't take through text. Just be like, just what's understood. Doesn't need to be stated.
It was a good night.
Man.
It was a good night.
Text me the emoji fist or something.
Just the 100 I mean, let me that 100.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all right. So let's do some final thoughts on the documentary. Let's start with Terrell.
Overall, I liked the documentary. I thought it was I would say 50-75% of it I already knew, given following the story for years. There were some few things that I understand them, and there's some things I can relate to as far as like the father thing. So it was a good watch. It was a good listen to. Once I saw the first episode, it was hard not to watch the next one. So I give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Mhm.
All right, Jay, what's your thoughts?
I mean, I'm gonna agree with that too. I'll give it a 8 out of 10. I was watching it. I sent it to y'all. We wanted to talk about it last week, so it was hard for me not to continue watching. I watched the first 3 episodes, and I was like, "Damn, I just got to go back for more."
Well, there goes my
But
Tuesday.
Right, but the reason why I give it an 8 out of 10 is because there's so much more things they could have asked about. Especially if you want to break into the sex trafficking and the allegations.
But keep in mind,
what happened?
That was before then.
Yeah, it happened before.
Nah, they still brought up some well, not the sex trafficking, but the sexual harassment cases, like with Sable and stuff. What about the flight? What about the flight from hell? You know what I'm saying? You could have brought up so many other things and got Vince's point of view from it. Because I heard that Vince was on that plane.
He was.
Oh, really?
Yes,
he was. He was.
So it's like that's why it strategically was to take down Vince because of it was directed at Vince.
But remember, he did say, "Oh, there's some stories I can tell, but I'm not gonna."
Yeah, he did.
He left a lot.
He did.
Those are one of them stories.
I feel like they didn't ask him. I'm gonna be real.
Because even the guy was like, what stories? Like, I'm not telling you.
It could be on the cutting room floor too. We never know what's in the on the cutting room floor of editing, so you never know.
I also thought it was crazy for him to even say that type of thing. Like, I'm not gonna tell you that. Like, I would have been like, nah, I'm telling you everything. This is the tell all. But he was like, no, there's mad shit that I'm not telling you guys because
he knows. He knows.
And I was mad about that too because of the fact, man, you about to be on your deathbed probably. Like just being real, you about to be on your deathbed. Put some of that juicy tea out there, man. You ain't with the company no more. You know what I'm saying? Put some of that juicy tea out there because we all know what happened. You know what I'm saying? You can't die and take all the good stories with you.
Take it to the grave, man.
I mean,
I'm saying conspiracy moment with Will right quick. I think he's saving those stories. I think he's saving those stories for either a book or they'll play him out and he'll have somebody. He'll whisper somebody's ear and they'll play him out in WWE. He's still
probably.
Look, there's no way. I know that he can't be connected to the company anymore at all. He's done. But there's no way you could be up in that office, like cooking up ideas and not just shoot him a text like, "Yo, what you think about this?" Because he's a brilliant man. It's his business.
Right.
It's his business. So like, no one knows it better than him. Yeah, I feel like he'll still be. Maybe he saved those stories for that. We'll see though.
Right. I mean, I'm the comment I seen. I just want to touch on it. Yeah, we know it's nothing new because majority of this stuff we already knew. Like we didn't know that he was molested. Well, I know I didn't know he was molested as a child. And grew up in a trailer park and stuff.
But I thought it was the other way around.
Oh.
I'd also say his behavior says something happened to him as a child. His behavior in general is like,
right.
Childhood must not have been great.
He gives mental case. I'm gonna be real. He gives mental case because even how he could switch into that persona like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised he kept it on the lid for so long. Like there was always allegations and stuff like that, but for the length of the run he had and the type of person he is, I feel like he should have been so many more things that should have got exposed. But he just But
he made friends with the right people.
Yeah.
Notice,
and then
they mentioned exactly. They mentioned Donald Trump in that documentary for a reason.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Decades.
That's
decades, man.
Yeah, he said some of it was him.
Yeah.
He basically said, I think the favorite line that I had from that though was he was saying, it's basically started to blur the line between Vince and Mr. McMahon, and then he was like, I'm definitely a version of one of them, and one of them is more exaggerated, I don't know which one it is though. So
that messed me up.
Yeah, so he even lost track of where he was going mentally. So yeah, things like that are gonna happen, man.
So he basically, you know what that was? Yeah, I did it. That's why he showed up. Yeah, I did it.
I physically did it, but it was the other guy. It was the guy who lives in here.
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
This is gonna always forever be known to me as the O.J. Simpson case in wrestling.
My final thoughts on the whole situation was if I personally feel like it didn't start out to be a hit piece. I feel like if you see the first episode, the second episode, third episode, I'm like, I didn't come away from them first 3 episodes feeling like, oh, they're shitting on Vince. No, I came away like, yo, Vince is a dog. Like, he really did all this. So if their plan was to do a hit piece on Vince from the beginning, they dropped the ball because it didn't feel like that through most of it. It didn't feel like that till about 5. 5th episode or 6th episode, I feel like by then they had done enough research, had enough conversation with him to be like, oh, he might not be a good dude at all. We should probably
fake him.
We already saw he was a bad dude in business. Maybe we need to look into how bad of a dude he was just as a person. And I think and then he had to leave. He wouldn't do the rest of it because of what was coming out. And they were just like, all right, yeah, he's a dick. Let's just go. And just they hit send on all the negative shit in the last 2 episodes, I feel like.
And not to mention, it's a docuseries. So you have to keep people entertained. Absolutely. So if you just come out with the allegations just straight up, it's not gonna grab people attention, especially the pure wrestling fans' attention.
Yeah.
So, I kind of feel like it didn't start out that way, but at the same time, look at how everything was edited too, because they were jumping around. Like the first 3 episodes, they were kind of like jumping around, and then they had to re-put it in the next episode. Like it's. Yeah.
Also to your point, which I agree with you, the one thing that did seem a little eerie from the very beginning was the vibe of when they showed everybody. They always do this in documentaries when they're doing the face-to-face interviews. They show them come in and sit down, and you get the vibe in the room. The vibe in every room when someone sat down was like, we gotta do this.
Oh shit!
Nobody wanted to be there. That was the vibe.
I hope they don't ask you the tough questions.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say nothing to him. I'll lose my job, so I don't even know why we're doing this. Like, I can't tell him the truth.
But to be honest with you, that Hulk Hogan stuff, it's old. That comes from another. It comes from another documentary.
Yeah, they could have said so much more about Hogan too. His shit. He had a bunch of shit that we had to deal with later on.
It was about Hogan.
I was actually surprised how Hogan handled that testify, because I didn't know that part where he told them what they wanted to hear without selling Vince out. So, and it was still the truth. Like Vince didn't give him the steroids. He didn't say, "Hey, I need you to get jacked. Use the steroids." It's more of, "I know you're using it, but I ain't gonna do shit about it because I didn't give it to you." So, he told the truth without making up a lie to send Vince to jail. So I like how he did that.
And it wasn't even that, because also he told them, it's not that he had to tell them, oh, do this or don't do this. It's just that everyone who's successful is on the juice. So that's a clear message from the top without even saying a word. The only people we push forward are built like Adonis. So obviously that's a message that he's sending to everybody.
Right?
Man, if he went to prison, man,
8 out of 10
would have changed. Yeah.
Okay.
It would have been a 9 if they got to actually finish those last 2 episodes correctly.
Yeah, that would have been great. If they
it would probably would have been a 10 out of 10
in court for sure. They would have used that in court.
Also, why did Vince do this? Is what I want to know. Why did he do it? Because did he think it wasn't going to be a hit? Did he think it was going to be all hunky dory? The shit they're talking about is wild.
I think. He didn't mind. He didn't mind the stories. Talking about this and this and that. Because, like I was saying earlier, it was already in production. It was already being talked about before all this stuff came out. So, if it never would have came out, Netflix still would have did this piece. and they would have did it their way because I guess I don't know, they didn't trust Vince to do it his way, so they was like, we're gonna do it our way regardless. So I think it still would have been
him being involved is his best way to keep them from going crazy hit piece. Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah, oh no, we lost him. We can answer this question before he comes back. If Vince and his family weren't close with Trump, do you think the media is coming for him this hard with this hit piece? Yeah, because he's it's always fuck you from Vince. Like,
but I think. Oh, my bad. Go ahead. My bad, Will.
I think because he's always been so like. It's similar to Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds, there was no one left to help Barry Bonds when he needed people to speak up for him on his behalf because he told everybody in the media to go fuck themselves for like 20 seasons. So there was no way when the shit hit the fan that they were going to cover him in a good light. And that's kind of what happens with Vince. You're not going to get covered in a good light if you step on everyone on the way up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think it was a par to set up WWE moving to Netflix. Because they've been trying to do this Netflix deal. They've been trying to corner the market. It's just, they couldn't do it because of the allegations.
That's a good point. You know what? This whole thing they probably just did to be like, see this guy who ran this thing that we now own? He's not involved anymore.
Yep. Yeah, because they didn't say it, but they put the words on the screen. They put the words on the screen letting you know. And they said it. They say he stepped down twice. So they let you know.
He stepped down the first time. The second time he was forced
he was out.
To be removed.
Yeah,
it was pretty much a done data. He thought by getting TKO, he would still assume control. And it's like, nah, TKO, if Dana White doesn't have full control like that, what makes you think what Vince thought he was going to have that full control, and he knew he was going to have that full control. Whatever TKO said, that's what was going to happen. So
that was a good part of the deal.
It backfired on him. It backfired on him because he thought
he should have known. He should have known once he wasn't the one with the 51% of the company that things were going to be different. That's the whole thing. No matter what he did before, he always had 51% or more. And
I think he thought it was over because he had like settled this last round, gave the people the money or whatever. He thought that was it.
Yeah. He thought he was gonna buy his way back in. He's like, "Up, I'm back." He's like, "Oh, not so fast."
Right?
Deuces.
He's a legend, though, man. Like, we as fans are always gonna separate like all that negative shit from all the joy he gave us. I will say that the documentary, if you came into the documentary a Vince fan or a wrestling fan, you left the same way.
Yep.
Yeah, like this wasn't gonna change anything for us. Because honestly, I don't think any of the things that he's being accused of, if we found out for sure he did them tomorrow, we'd be like, yeah, it checks out. Like it wouldn't shock any of us.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm gonna be real with you. He did.
I think he did all that shit.
In the fact that he played it on screen, that was just him, CYA.
Yeah, he was Freudian slipping. He was screaming for help. Look, I'm a monster. But now I'm just gonna turn it into a character because that's the only way I know how to do is to make money out of everything.
Because even Ted Turner, I think Ted Turner knew something too. Because he was like, the reason why Vince sell because he showed more of the tit.
Never have been more certain that two men have probably buried a hooker in the desert somewhere.
Oh,
both of them dudes.
All right.
Wow.
Well, fellas, this was a great discussion to review the docuseries from Netflix, Mr. McMahon. Appreciate you guys joining us. We appreciate all of the comments, everybody out there that chimed in. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week. We're going to talk more wrestling. So, Kenny Omega, take us home.
Must meet you too. Goodbye. Mwah. Good night. Bang! Yes!
Thanks for watching our show. Remember to subscribe for more shows on the network. Smash the like button, share, and comment.